Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is Mucking Fun Day. Did you weekend? Were you weekending? Well, unfortunately the weekend's over. That's why it's Mucking Fun Day. So this is Before Coffee, the father and daughter comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look up the news 10 to 15 minutes before we've begun and we haven't had any caffeine. So let's shake off that weekend sleepiness and head into the headlines. Today on Before Coffee, reputed head of crime family narrowly misses out on Dublin Parliament seat. What a shame.
And we have people killed at a soccer match in Guinea, and major snowstorms in the United States.
Protests in Georgia continue after EU Ascension talks halted.
And we're going to talk about the war in Syria. Yeah, there's a war in Syria.
In culture news, Elton John reveals he is unable to watch his own musical after losing his eyesight.
And it's National Mutt Day. That's right, National Mutt Day on both July 31st and December 2nd. December 2nd, 2024 on Before Coffee.
Two National Mutt Days. We're just spoiled for choice. We can celebrate in July and celebrate in December.
They put them 4 months apart for some reason.
Yeah, interesting. They get 2 days every year. Well, let's go into some, I guess this is more of local news because I haven't heard about it until today. But this is from Padraig Halpin on Reuters, coming out of Dublin. Independent election candidate Jared Hutch, known as Jerry the Monk Hutch, arrives at the count centre following Ireland's general election, which was on Friday. I probably mentioned it a little bit, but we didn't really do a full coverage on that. But Friday's Ireland elections were starting last Friday. Jared Hutch, named in court case last year as the head of a well-known crime family in Ireland, narrowly missed out on a seat in Ireland's Parliament on Sunday, which was the 1st of December, despite a surge of support in deprived areas of Dublin's central constituency. Hutch, better known as the Monk, finished a 5th place of a 4th seat constituency, so he almost got a seat. If there's 4 seats available, he got 5th, so he was first loser. He had been widely seen as a favorite to take the final seat earlier, before a late surge by the Labour Party rival Mary Sherlock. Hutch was arrested in Spain as part of an international investigation into money laundering by the Hutch organized crime group, but was released in early November on bail, Irish and state broadcaster RTE reported. He was followed by a huge scrum of journalists when he briefly attended the court centre on Sunday, which was the 1st of December, and spoke to Sherlock. He jogged out of the centre, surrounded by security. What is he, scared of a freaking crime hit or something? Ahead of the vote, Hutch said he was running because he did not think the deprived inner-city community where he grew up was properly represented. Hutch has for years donated to sports clubs in the area. Gary Gannon, who also took a seat, said he saw Hutch's support as a protest vote. Some parts of the community, actually significant parts, have been left behind by all the catastrophes of housing and ability to access healthcare. That leaves a mark, he said. Film director Jim Sheridan, who is making a documentary about Hutch, agreed, telling journalist Hutch's shocking level of support was down to anger and years of drugs and nothing happening in the community. The U.S. State Department said in 2022 that Hutch's drug trafficking gang was locked in a turf war with Guinea crime group, also based in Dublin. But why was the U.S. reporting on it? Why is the U.S. reporting on a Ireland turf war? That's weird.
Because they have a reporter there?
No, it's the U.S. State Department. That's the state. The state of...
Oh, okay.
Why is there State Department in Ireland? I just think it's interesting that a foreign State Department is reporting on it, I guess. Also based in Dublin, this resulted in 18 murders in the aftermath of a 2016 killing at a Dublin hotel. The Hutch gang was named by the State Department when it offered a $5 million award for help in arresting the leaders of the Guinea gang suspected of drug trafficking. So for some reason, the U.S. Department, I guess they're drug trafficking everywhere, not just Ireland, and they put out a hit.
Well, the State Department serves as a kind of the State Department serves as kind of your eyes and ears for American citizens traveling. So yeah, they should know this stuff when you check with them to see, hey, what should I look out for?
Mm-hmm. That's definitely what happened here.
I mean, for instance, when I traveled, I would get hazard pay depending on where I went. Right. Anyway.
You would. Oh, like when you went to Colombia or whatever.
Yeah, and the State Department is the ones that decides on hazard pay for people. Anyway.
Either way, there was a $5 million reward, not $5, a $5 million reward for arresting anybody part of the Kinahan gang. Jared Hutch was identified as the head of the Hutch family by an Irish court last year when he was acquitted of involvement in that 2016 murder. So he's not really guilty of anything except for being a crime boss. So I guess if you want to get ethics into it, as far as we know, he hasn't done anything bad. Just everyone under him has, Hutch said in a recent podcast interview that he had a number of convictions for robbery as a younger man. He has not been convicted of any other crime recently, and in a rare 2008 interview with the national broadcaster RTE, he denied being leader of a crime gang. But he was still sentenced as one in last year. Asked by reporters if he might run again, Hutch said, "We'll consider it." The Reuters Daily Brief... Oh, sorry, we don't say that. This writing was also co-written by Connor Humphreys. So there is your kind of, odd story coming out of the Irish news and the Irish election. Somebody who is head of, supposedly, at least by court-mandated conviction, a leader of a crime family, almost got a seat on the council. On to your story.
Okay. Well, we're going to go to Guinea, and we're going to talk about soccer, the most violent sport in the world. Not the sport on the field, but the idiot fans who take it seriously. And this is from APnews.com. 56 people aren't going home to their families now. They're going to have 56 separate funerals and several injured in a stampede at a soccer stadium in southern Guinea following clashes between fans, Guinea's government said Monday. Mm-hmm. Authorities are conducting an investigation to establish those responsible for the stampede on Sunday. Communications Minister Fana Souma said in a statement read on national television. Among the victims are several children, according to local media, and a coalition of political parties. Several children. Boy, that was worth it, huh? The stampede broke out on Sunday afternoon at the stadium in the city of Nezorokore during the final of a local tournament between the Labe and Nezororoki. Let's not pronounce the N. Zerokore teams in honor of Guinea's military leader Mamadi Doumbouya. Oh, good, a military leader. Yeah, your country's in trouble if you got a military leader. Guinea Prime Minister Amoa Oibai said on the X platform. During the stampede, victims were recorded, Ba said, without giving details. The regional authorities are working to restore calm in the area, he added. Local media reported that security forces tried to use tear gas to restore calm after the chaos that followed a disputed penalty. The disputed penalty, angered supporters who threw stones. This is how the security forces used tear gas, Media Guinea, a local news website, reported. It said several of those killed were children, while some of the injured being treated at a regional hospital are in critical condition.
That's great.
Videos that appeared in the forum... I'm sorry?
Said that's terrible.
I know. Videos that appeared to be from the scene showed fans in the section of the stadium shouting and protesting the refereeing before clashes broke out as people poured onto the field. People were running as they tried to escape from the stadium, many of them jumping the high fence. Videos also showed many people lying on the floor in what looked like a hospital as a crowd gathered nearby, some assisting the wounded. The National Alliance for Alternation and Democracy Opposition Coalition called for an investigation. That's a long name. It said the tournament was organized to drum up support for the legal and inappropriate political ambitions of a military leader. Guinea has been led by military since soldiers ousted President Alpha Yaoundé in 2021. It is one of the growing number of West African countries, including Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, where the military has taken power and delayed the return to civilian rule. Domboyoya, or something like that, ousted the president 3 years ago, and he was preventing the country from slipping into chaos and chastised the previous government for broken promises. He has, however, been criticized for not meeting the expectations he has raised. Yep, another soccer riot, at least 56 dead. Of course, in the United States over the week, we had a couple of incidents. We had the Michigan-Ohio State game almost broke out into a riot, so there can be riots in football games too, but nobody was killed. The police had to use tear gas, though, to disperse the crowd because a Michigan football player decided to plant his flag on Ohio State's field. So that started a big old brawl in the middle of the football field after the game. And there was a melee on the field in an NFL game as a quarterback got knocked unconscious and his teammates didn't take to it very kindly. So that was fun. So hostilities in sports boiling over the weekend. And we're going to talk about other things in this day as major snowstorm has blanketed parts of the United States over the Thanksgiving weekend. This is from CBS News. CBS News. And if you were watching football at all, you saw the snowstorm in Buffalo. It was like watching the game being played in a snowstorm, or snow globe. Sorry,
Crazy.
It wasn't really a storm. More than it was just a lot of. Buffalo gets a lot of lake effect snow, and when lake effect snow, it just comes from the lake, gets evaporated up to the clouds, doesn't quite make it to the clouds, and falls back into the earth again. So, one of the first major snowstorms this season, blanketed parts of New York, Pennsylvania, and Michigan over the weekend. In the midst of a hectic post-Thanksgiving travel and discount shopping sprees, forecasters expected very cold temperatures and heavy snow to persist through the beginning of the week and potentially pose dangers to travelers in the Great Lakes, Plains, and Midwest regions. The snowstorm led to an emergency declaration in parts of New York and a disaster declaration in Pennsylvania, with officials warning of dangerous conditions for Thanksgiving and travelers returning home. The blast of Arctic air first brought bitter temperatures 10 to 20 degrees Fahrenheit below the average in the northern plains, the Weather Service said, prompting cold advisories for parts of North Dakota. But over the weekend, the frigid air moved east and was expected to have a eastern third in its grip by Monday, with temperatures about 10 degrees below average. Erie County, Pennsylvania got some of the worst of the storm, with a disaster declared. More than 3 feet of snow covered the region. At least 2 feet of snow fell on parts of New York, Ohio, and Michigan, with towns and villages around Lake Ontario and Lake Erie bearing the brunt. On Sunday, snow piled up as fast as 3 inches per hour as some parts of western New York, forcing officials to declare a state of emergency there too. Near Buffalo, about 2 feet of snow fell at Highmark Stadium as crews and volunteers raced to clear the stands for the Bills NFL game and then raced against the weather to keep the field clear enough to play to continue. To go from no snow to 2 feet in one weekend, especially with the record warm temps and stuff we've had, it's been a lot to go from that to switch gears into a pretty extreme snowfall, said Connor Kolb, whose WNY snow removal company was kept more than busy. The National Weather Service warned on Sunday that post-Thanksgiving travel could be difficult to impossible in places where ongoing snowfall was forecasted at the beginning of the week. In Cleveland, forecasters said snowfall could continue periodically to Tuesday morning, though most of the heavy accumulation had been expected Sunday. In a Saturday phone interview with WWNY TV, New York Governor Kathy Hochul told the Associated Press that the state had prepared for the storm 4 days by deploying snowplows and thousands of workers and consulting with utility providers. She also dispatched personnel from other parts of the state to assist. I know it's something they're all accustomed to and they can handle, but I just want to let them know we are there for reinforcements and to make sure everyone can travel safely, especially over the really busy holiday weekend, she said. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro signed a disaster emergency declaration and warned that parts of Erie County could get more snow through Monday night. Pennsylvania police responded to nearly 200 incidents throughout the 24-hour period from 6 a.m. Friday, 6 a.m. Saturday, officials said. Authorities closed part of I-90 in Pennsylvania and westbound lanes of the New York Thruway heading towards Pennsylvania. Parts of Michigan were battered by lake effect snow, which happens when warm, moist air rising from the body of water mixes with cloudy air overhead. There were 27 inches of snow just northeast of Ironwood in the Upper Peninsula's western reaches, and another 2 feet in Munising in the eastern area. Continuing lake effect snow could add more than a foot over the eastern Upper Peninsula through Monday morning, with 6 to 10 inches higher to the west, state officials warned. So yeah, the Great Lakes create their own weather. Lake effect snow. Back to you.
All right, that's some crazy weather and some crazy stuff happening due to football games. I mean, it's really disappointing, honestly. People can't control themselves and they just upend and end people's lives over this stuff. Speaking of protests, or I guess danger, we're going to talk about Georgia's continued protests after EU accession talks have been halted. This is coming off of Euronews.
Mucking fun day. All right.
Yeah, this is coming up from Euronews. Officials in the country say at least 44 people have been in increasingly violent clashes between police and protesters, as President Salome Zurabishvili says she won't step down whether her term ends. So we're entering, in a way, kind of a dictatorship here. She got voted. Unfortunately, she's been voted out. Her term's over, which means she has to step down, whether or not that's where she wants the country to go. The country made their decisions, and we've already talked about how there's been arguments about voting. I want to say, I can't think of the word here, but manipulation, voting manipulation, that kind of stuff. But several different countries, including the EU, have gone in and said there was no proof of any manipulation or cheating. So that's just what Georgia has voted for. Georgia has voted for Russia and against the EU. Fourth consecutive night of protest is underway across Georgia against the government's decision to suspend European Union Ascension talks. Officials in the country say at least 44 people have been hospitalized in increasingly violent demonstrations. The Interior Ministry said that 27 protesters, 16 police officers, and 1 media worker were taken to the hospital. Tens of thousands of protesters mostly gathered outside Parliament in the capital Tbilisi, threw stones and fireworks at squads of police officers. Police officers used water cannons, tear gas, and pepper spray in a bid to disperse crowds. Prime Minister there's a freaking video. I need to go into reading mode. The video is like covering half the article. Where was I? Prime Minister Irakli Kobalhidze warned that any violation of the law would be met with full rigor of the law. What if the law breaks the law? Do they get the full rigor of the law? I doubt it. Neither will those politicians who hide in their offices and sacrifice members of their violent groups to severe punishment and escape responsibility, he said in a briefing on Sunday. He's threatening the current president or prime minister. He insisted, however, that Georgia's European integration had not been halted. The only thing that we have rejected is the shameful and offensive blackmail, which was, in fact, a significant obstacle to our country's European integration. The unrest began 4 days ago when the government, headed by the populist Georgian Dream Party, announced it was suspending EU's accession talks until at least 2028. That was in response to a European Parliament resolution that criticized the 26 October parliamentary elections, which saw the Georgian Dream re-elected as neither free nor fair. It said that the election represented another manifestation of Georgia's continued democratic backsliding, for which the ruling Georgian Dream Party is fully responsible. The international observers say they saw instances of violence. I reported that wrong. There was instance of voter manipulation here due to violence, bribery, and double voting at polls, prompting some EU lawmakers to demand a rerun. On Sunday, the EU's foreign policy chief Kaja Kallas, an Enlargement Commissioner Martha Koss released a joint statement on the decision to suspend membership negotiations. We note that this announcement marks a shift from the policies of previous Georgian governments and the European aspirations of the vast majority of the Georgian people, as enshrined in the Constitution of Georgia, the statement said. The EU granted Georgia candidate status in December 2023, on conditions that it met the bloc's recommendations. But Brussels put that process on hold earlier this year after the passage of the controversial Foreign Influence Law, which was widely seen as a blow to democratic freedoms. Critics have accused Georgian Dream of becoming increasingly authoritarian and tilted toward Moscow. The party recently pushed through laws similar to those used by the Kremlin to crack down on freedom of speech and LGBTQ+ rights. Yeah, I mean, if you want to join the EU and you don't want to give rights to people from the LGBTQ, it's not really going to work because you're going to have open borders. So there's going to be, all your gay people are just going to leave. And then you're going to have a population emptiness. And then you're going to be angry at the EU for it, probably. Meanwhile, Kobatsidze has said that President Salome Zurabilishvili must vacate her post when her mandate ends later this month. She's refusing because of all that previous indication of bribery, double voting, and other voter manipulation. The pro-EU head of state has vowed to stay on to support the protesters and say the illegitimate government has no authority to select her successor. In an interview with Euronews, Zurabilishvili said the scale of the protests across Georgia were unprecedented, primarily because they have spread beyond the political center of Tbilisi. Every day there are more people on the streets, and more importantly, there's real dissent growing in the country. In the state institutions, where people are resigning or protesting or signing petitions. We are confronting something very new, and we are part of something very new that is happening also geopolitically. I would say, whereas Russia not winning easily over Ukraine over these past 2.5 years is not trying to win over the European Union with electoral war. I would say it's an electoral war. Yeah, if they can't win against Ukraine, they're gonna try to get everyone on their side so that when something happens, they can say, look, all these countries support me, all 50 of these countries that I've, put my puppets in that are all pro-Russian. They have carried this electoral war in Georgia, and we are fighting against it with constitutional means. Zurabilishvili said, addressing claims that Russia had meddled in the elections, which saw the Georgian Dream stay in power. They are fighting the same electoral war in Romania, and they fought it in Moldova. So it's a strategy of Russia. I mean, it's easy to think that it's some sort of conspiracy by Russia. I mean, that's what people have been saying in the United States as well, but we can't really ever know. You just got to keep fighting for what you believe in, and that is definitely what the people in Georgia are doing. Is they are. A very interesting video of somebody.
Keep at it. Don't take it laying down, man.
Yeah, exactly. I saw somebody shooting
just because
a giant firework cannon at a water. What is that called again? A water sprayer thing. Water cannons. A firework cannon against a water cannon. And the firework cannon won. They were holding like a shield and they're shooting it. Very, they're definitely fighting out there for what they believe in. So.
What also wins at times like this is cynicism, right? Because as much as you think people voted for something, what really happened was people stayed home and didn't vote at all.
Yeah. I also saw something about that.
Cynicism wins.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What's that?
I saw something about that on my for the U.S. election. There was a guy whose girlfriend broke up with him because he didn't vote, and then he also said, well, I didn't vote because I knew Kamala wouldn't win because she's a woman. And then she was like, well, goodbye, I'm not dating you anymore. Also, you can't, my favorite thing that Robert says is that if you didn't vote, you're not allowed to complain. So don't complain about anything that happens to you for the next whatever years because you didn't even vote. You decided to withdraw your right to complain.
Mm-hmm.
Chris from Austria.
But that's what happens.
Australia,
that's what the demagogues. This is what the demagogues function on. They want to convince you, and if they don't convince you, they want to at least convince you not to vote, and they win. because you didn't participate.
Yep.
So voter participation went down in the United States because people got sick of it. Oh, they're both parties are the same. So that's what won here. Both parties are the same nonsense. I'm sorry, was your story over?
No, you're free to go. It's your story time. I'm not going to tell you to
Oh,
stop talking.
because I was having trouble hearing you. You were breaking up on me. I was hearing you half and half. Okay, we're going to go to Syria and war. That's right. There's a war in Syria. This is from CNN.com. Iyad Kordi, Sophie Tano, and Raja Razek. Syrian and Russian jets are stepping up strikes on opposition forces in northern Syria in retaliation for this sudden offensive that has cost the regime control of the country's second largest city, Aleppo. The offensive has led to the capture by the rebel alliance of an important military base east of Aleppo in large areas of both Aleppo and Idlib provinces. It has met little resistance on the ground from regime forces and also comes at a time when Syria's key backers, Iran and Russia, are focusing on their own conflicts. The rebel sweeping access has posed the biggest challenge in 8 years to President Bashar al-Assad when Russian air power helped reverse rebel gains in the civil war. The newly formed rebel coalition, which also calls itself Military Operations Command, has captured key sites across Aleppo, including the airport, where video verified by CNN showed camo-clad fighters inside the main terminal. If you're flying to the Aleppo airport today, you might want to change your plans. The rebels consolidated their gains Sunday, capturing key military sites in east of Aleppo city, but they have left some neighborhoods in the hands of Kurdish forces. The opposition forces' control of Aleppo means that the regime counteroffensive promised by the Syrian Defense Ministry would be very difficult to carry out. Government aircraft, along with Russian planes based in Syria, have carried out bombing raids against opposing positions in Aleppo, Idlib, and Hama. The official Russian news agency TASS cited the Syrian Army Command in a report Sunday as saying that their air forces stepped up strikes on terrorist positions in their supply lines with dozens killed and wounded. Of course, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. Syrian rebels vowed to clear the country after Syrian rebels... Okay, that's kind of that's a picture caption, which you run into sometimes because there's no picture but a caption. An airstrike close to Aleppo University on Sunday killed at least 4 people, according to social media video geolocated by CNN. Way to go, CNN. It's unclear whether the strike was carried out by Russian or Syrian regime planes. The strike follows one Saturday, which killed several people in a square in western Aleppo. Meanwhile, a Russian strike damaged a Franciscan convent in Aleppo. Well, there you go. You bombed some nuns. Way to go. According to the Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani, although Vatican News said no injuries had been reported. Well, that's good. The White Helmets, a Syrian volunteer service, said at least 4 people were killed on Sunday in airstrikes in Idlib city, a province that now appears to be entirely in rebel hands. In his first comment since the lightning takeover, Assad said that Syria will continue to defend its stability and territorial integrity in the face of all terrorists and their supporters during calls with regional leaders on Saturday. Assad in Syria was capable, with help from its allies and friends, of defeating and eliminating them, no matter how intense their terrorist attacks are. The rebel offensive has reignited Syria's long-running civil war, which killed more than 300,000 people and created 6 million refugees. The conflict never formally ended, and the flare-up is the most significant since 2020, when Russia and Turkey reached a ceasefire. Of course, Russia's, since 2020, has started their own little war. And of course, Iran, Syria's other strategic partner, is heavily involved in the Gaza war and just constantly trying to cause problems elsewhere. On Sunday, Assad told Abbas Araghchi, the visiting foreign minister of Iran, which has backed Assad in the civil war, that he intends to fight with all force and determination throughout Syria's territory. The rebels are led by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. That's his name. A former Al-Qaeda affiliate in Syria that used to go by the name of Al-Nusra Front. Used to go by the name the Al-Nusra Front, not Front. Along with groups backed by Turkey and other previously supported by the U.S. This presents a dilemma for the Western governments. Asli Andinababas, a fellow visiting at Brookings Institution, told CNN. Should they be cheering the opposition taking over Syria's second largest city, Aleppo, or should they actually worry about the city falling under Islamist rule, she said. I don't know, that's a tough one. Aydin Tasbas believes that the events have unfolded in Syria show a new balance of power in the country, with Turkey emerging as a major factor, while Russia's power is weakened and Iran is on its back foot. Complicating matters is that some members of the rebel coalition are also fighting Kurdish forces. The Turkish-backed Free Syrian Army, which is part of the rebel coalition, said Sunday it has seized control of the city of Tal Rafat in the towns of Ayan and Sheikh Isa in the northern part of Aleppo governorate. That's it. Aleppo is called a governorate. That's the form of whatever.
The form of what?
I'm having trouble with these words. It's governorate. It's like a state, the territory, a governorate. It's also claimed to have captured the villages of Shaleh and Narabaye in Aleppo's northern countryside. These territories were previously held by the government of Bashar al-Assad, but another faction involved in the multi-front civil war, the Syrian Democratic Forces. The Syrian Democratic Forces are largely made up of Kurdish fighters from a group known as the People's Protection Units, YPG, which is considered a terrorist organization by neighboring Turkey. Everybody's calling each other terrorists. You're all terrorists. The Syrian Democratic Forces have previously fought over other Syrian opposition groups, but have, in the past, received backing from the U.S. for its fight against ISIS. So a big old mess in Syria that we don't pay a lot of attention to, with factionalism ruling the day, and nobody knows who's in charge in most of these cities, and the people that pay for this are who? The poor people. The people that have nothing. Yeah, that's right. They get moved around and bombed and used as pawns in these stupid political games.
And what poor people just want to live their life,
I did send you a video.
Go be happy, take care of their family, and not have to deal with some other assholes who have nothing to do with me, wrecking my entire livelihood.
No. That's it. That's it in a nutshell.
In a nutshell.
We live in a nutshell. So
in a nutshell, Syria is yet again
we have
getting
more
fucked.
And more nuts every day.
Yeah. Okay. Well, from that we go to some sad news from Elton John. This is from Sean Kane on The Guardian. Elton John has revealed at a gala performance of his new musical The Devil Wears Prada, for which he wrote the music, that he is physically unable to see the show due to ongoing problems with his eyesight. Speaking on stage, the 77-year-old singer thanked his husband, David Furnish, who has been my rock. I haven't been able to come to many of the previews because, as you know, I've lost my eyesight, so it's hard for me to see it. I love to hear it, and boy, it sounded good tonight, he added. In September, John revealed that a severe eye infection he contracted in July while in France had left him blind in his right eye and with only limited vision in his left. I'm healing, but it is an extremely slow process, and it will take some time before sight returns to the impacted eye, he wrote in a statement shared on social media. I am so grateful for the excellent team of doctors and nurses and my family who have taken such good care of me over the last several weeks. Last week, John told Good Morning America that his eyesight was delaying his next album with his longtime collaborator, Bernie Taupin. I unfortunately lost my eyesight in my right eye in July because I had an infection in the south of France, and it's been 4 months now since I haven't been able to see. And my left eye is not the greatest, he said. So there's hope and encouragement that it will be okay, but I I'm kind of stuck at the moment because I can do something like this, the interview, but going into the studio and recording, I don't know, because I can't see a lyric for a start. Just pull it out of your head, you know? Who needs lyrics? Just sing whatever comes into your head. You're Elton John, you'll get away with it. Devil Wears Prada has been opened in London's West End at the Dominion Theatre. The Sunday night gala performance was staged to raise funds for Elton John's AIDS Foundation. Devil Wears Prada, which was initially a novel by author Lauren Weisberger and later adapted for film, tells the story of Andy, an aspirational journalist who becomes the assistant to a notoriously difficult fashion magazine editor, Miranda Presley. In the musical, Presley is played by U.S. model and actor Vanessa Williams. I didn't know she was in musicals. That's cool. The starry event was attended by many famous faces from the fashion world, including Vogue editor-in-chief Anna Wintour, who has long been rumored to have been loosely inspired the character of Presley. Speaking to the BBC on the red carpet, Wintour said, "It's for the audience and for the people I work with to decide if there are any similarities between me and Miranda." So, I guess if you would like to, that's also a little ad for the musical Devil Wears Prada, which is on the West End in London, and also probably will be playing everywhere because it's a very popular film. And hopefully Elton John next year will be in better health and be able to read with his eyes. It's a shame what happened in South France. I wonder if there was like something in the water, like he went swimming and he got infection from something. They didn't really go into details. They just said he got an infection and then now he's blind.
Maybe he'll get better.
Yeah, hopefully.
Maybe he'll get
sounds
better.
Like it's possible.
Not?
It's not like a death scenario or anything. That's my story.
Well, maybe he can consult. Maybe he can consult his good friend Stevie Wonder, who's been blind for a long time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what friends are for. They made a song together called "That's What Friends Are For." Just in case you don't remember it, I could play it for you. That's what friends are for. Dionne Warwick, Stevie Wonder, Elton John, and I think Gladys Knight. I think that's what it was. Yeah. Anyway, that's what friends are for. Come on, Stevie. But hopefully he just gets better. Hope for the best for Sir Elton John. On this day in history, way back in the mist of time, 1804 to be exact, when Napoleon was around. We go back there. At 1804, Napoleon crowned himself Emperor of France on this day in the presence of Pope Pius VII. He crowned himself. He said, "Here's a crown. It's me. I'm the guy." 1859, abolitionist John Brown was hanged following a raid at Harper's Ferry. John Brown, famous abolitionist. 1884, American monologist and monodramatist Ruth Draper was born in New York City.
Celebrating phrenologists now? What the hell?
No, not phrenologist. It says monologist and monodramatist.
I thought you said phrenologist.
She did monologues. She would stand in front and do monologues.
Yeah.
1942. You're not hearing me right if you heard phrenology.
Well, you have that. Microphone is very big.
1942
so
in
I
this
can't hear you very well to begin with.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're all spotty when your audio is kind of spotty to me at this moment in time. In 1942, scientists led by Enrico Fermi conducted the world's first controlled self-sustaining nuclear chain reaction at the University of Chicago. Well, at least they controlled it, right? Because if they didn't control it, oh boy, Chicago would be a big old hole in the ground, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. 1954, the U.S. Senate voted to censure Senator Joseph R. McCarthy. I had bad indigestion this morning. I ate too much turkey. There's like a lot of leftover turkey here, and I really can't eat turkey. I don't know why. But it's free, right?
Easy excuse.
Free food. Hard to turn it down. I know, right? Terrible. Anyway, in this day in 1954, the U.S. Senate voted to censure Senator Joseph R. McCarthy for his conduct in the investigation of communism in the United States. Yeah, he went after the U.S. Army. The U.S. Army is a communist organization. Yeah, Joseph McCarthy's freaking butter slipped off his biscuit years before 1954. In 1971, the United States, I can't read for some reason. In 1971, the United Arab Emirates was formed by the union of 6 small emirates in the Arabian Peninsula. A 7th emirate joined a year later, actually 2 months later. In 1981, American singer Britney Spears was born. She helped spark a teen pop phenomenon in the late 1990s and later endured intense public scrutiny for her personal life and particularly her scumbag parents. And so, happy birthday to Britney Spears, turning 43 today. Well, it hardly seems possible.
Survived her scumbag parents. Thank God.
Huh? Right. And of course, Britney Spears. 1982 on this day, William C. DeVries implanted the first permanent artificial heart in Barney Clark. The aluminum and plastic device is called the Jarvik 7. And he didn't last too much longer. So it was a baby steps of technology. We still don't have an artificial heart running around in people, do we? Well, we might, but they're smaller and more compact, I imagine. 1983, Michael Jackson's song "The Thriller" aired on MTV. The groundbreaking video, which is like half hour long, featuring Vincent Price, and I mean the song itself, it's kind of nothing, right?
Yeah.
But the video made a splash. 1993, Colombian criminal Pablo Escobar was killed during a shootout with authorities. He was the head of the Medellin cartel. It was arguably the most powerful drug trafficker in the 1980s and early 1990s. He was so powerful that he basically put up contracts on government officials, and the government officials said, "I'll do what you say. I'll do what you say." And of course, he is the guy that brought hippos to Colombia. Now, the mountains of Colombia totally overrun by runaway population of hippos. Nice little side story. I don't know if that's totally true, but hippos are not endemic to South America at all, so they're just running roughshod over all the other natural species around. In 2001 on this day, following revelations of massive accounting fraud, Enron filed for bankruptcy protection. The energy trading company was once the 7th largest corporation in the United States. Of course, Enron was a criminally diabolical organization. They would run the rolling blackouts in New York City. They were an energy company, so they would run the rolling blackouts in in California, the state of California, and they let the governor take the blame for that, even though it was totally on them. 2014, Canadian ice hockey player Jean Belleville, considered one of the game's greatest centers, died at the age of 83. A prolific scorer, it says here. He was a prolific scorer. Our featured event in 1823, the Monroe Doctrine was trotted out by the United States. It declared that the U.S. would not interfere in the European affairs, but that its sphere of interest, including the entire Western Hemisphere, was enunciated by President James Monroe. The Monroe Doctrine, which is what John F. Kennedy said, used when the Russians tried to put missiles in Cuba. JFK said, "Hey, we got the Monroe Doctrine. You can't do that here." And then Russia said, "We have the whatever doctrine.
We don't care.
We have the Lenin Doctrine, by golly. Yeah. We make laws for you too, you son of a bitch." Anyway, so yeah, a little testiness. The Monroe Doctrines originated on this day in 1823, so it turns 201. Our featured biography is Georges Seurat, French painter. Old Georgie, who was born December 2nd, 1859 in Paris, died March 29th, 1891, also in Paris, at the age of 31. Dude only got 31 years. Other birthdays today: Maria Callas, Maria Callas, American singer, born in 1923, 101 today. Harry Reid, former U.S. Senate Majority Leader, born in 1939. Gianni Versace, Italian fashion designer who was murdered by a gay, what do you want to call it? Partisan? What do they call it? Courtesan? What do they call your lover? Gay lover. His gay lover murdered him. Gianni Versace was murdered. Anyway, it's his birthday. We also covered Britney Spears' birthday. And Aaron Rodgers turns 41 today. He's born in 1983. He's still playing football. Although yesterday, he probably wished he wasn't. Because, boy, that game ended in a disaster. I was watching that game. He missed a pass for a touchdown. The guy wide open. The very next pass. He throws it to a guy, bounces off him, it gets intercepted, and some big fat guy intercepts it and runs it 100 yards for a touchdown. Very next play. I was like, oh, man.
That's embarrassing.
Anyway, happy birthday, Aaron Rodgers. I'm sure he's really happy today after another loss for the New York Jets.
Money, you know?
Yeah, but he has money, right? Why is he still playing? Because he likes to play, right? You don't, you know, he doesn't have to play. He doesn't play football. He has enough money, right? He's 41, oldest player in the league. He's still playing. Oldest non-kicker in the league. I'm sure there's kickers because kickers just run on the field and run back off. That's all they do. Anyway, those are your birthdays for today and events for today. And what national day is it? Is National Mutt Day. So if you have yourself a dog that's not a purebred, which most people do, and the purebreds are usually have health problems, so you don't want them anyway. They're mutants. They're not mutants, but what are they? They're inbred. They've been bred to special and they're unhealthy. But mutts, on the other hand,
genetics aren't as magic.
Mutts on the right. Your purebreds are the product of breeding and special selection. Mutts are the product of love, just pure or lust, just pure unadulterated animal magnetism, right? Anyway, celebrate your mutt. He's happy to be with you, and you should be happy too. Or she, of course. It's also National Special Education Day. So if you're special like me, you need education. And Cyber Monday today, as people just start buying stuff they don't need with money they don't have because it's Cyber Monday. Oh yeah, and it's also National Fritter Day. What's a fritter? Other than me frittering away my hours doing absolutely nothing, I don't know what a fritter is. It's a small portion of food.
Yeah, made out of potatoes. Potato fritter, what they say. Isn't it?
Yeah, it's a small portion of food that is crispy. It's got to be crispy, apparently. So there you go. There's your National Fritter Day. All your days for today. December. Yes, we're almost through with the year. December 2nd, 2024 on Before Fritters.
Woohoo! All right. This has been Allison and, Rod. Allison from the Netherlands, Rod from the United States. That's right. We don't live in the same country. Some people think we do, but then why are we doing this over Discord if we live in the same place? But
if you're me, you're barely living. So there you go.
I feel the same way because the sun. I need the sun to live, and I just feel like a cicada in the freaking, just waiting to come out and be annoying. The springtime.
A cicada.
But anyways,
make ungodly amounts of noise.
Cicadas do. They're annoying. They make those noises. Okay. Anyway.
I like cicada noise, actually.
I hope you guys had a good weekend, especially if you've been watching Before Coffee and not been worrying about the news until Monday. Tomorrow will be Good Tuesday News Day, where we will look up some good news stories, some positive news to cover for the week, so you don't have to worry about that doom and gloom we just covered today, really, because a lot of it was pretty doom and gloom. Don't forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, turn those notifications, like the video, and comment down below what you think about Georgia's protests. I'm sure everyone has opinions on that. Without further ado, let's look at the terrible weather happening in Michigan in our mic drop moment.
Overnight, lake effect snow blanketing states across the Northeast and Midwest, leading to multiple.
Well, this is New York, but yeah.
Oh, I thought it said Michigan. Sorry, I thought it said something about a Lake Michigan.
People already digging out, and they
it's all the northern Great Lakes.
Issuing winter alerts.
The Great
Some
Lakes.
parts of Pennsylvania Ohio and New York
It was
expect to see
Michigan,
as
but
much as
Ohio
6
as
feet of
well, yeah.
snow in the coming days. The intense conditions leaving people
any place that
stranded
has
on the
a
road.
lake
Authorities
effect
setting up
snow
emergency
pretty much
shelters
got
for
it.
those unable to get home.
Yet again, this
Orders of
reminds me
front
of
end
what that
loaders,
politician I heard say,
backhoes, skid steers,
which
anything we
was
have to
less
remove
people will
snow
die
to
from
at least
freezing to
get
death if the
one
climate
side of the
gets
street
warmer.
open.
That's like
The
that's not how
governor
weather
issued a
works, buddy.
disaster declaration
That's not
and
how
deployed
weather
the
works.
National Guard to
That guy
assist
just called me
residents
a
in hard-hit areas.
that guy just called me a
New York has a state
backhoe.
of emergency in several counties.
Didn't you do a story on how
Resources
there's more
deployed to aid
water,
in the
it's raining
response.
You
more
ought to
because
take
of
that kind
climate
of
change?
abuse.
So of course it's gonna snow more because you need water in the air for snow. I don't know. Makes sense to me. Snowstorms are just gonna get more worse.
I'm on my way.
The snow piling up outside Highmark Stadium with the Bills Mafia out in force
Look at that.
clearing out the seats.
They played the game though.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.